Some Terraria biomes will kill you instantly, and others will let you live there for days. So today, I'm going to rank them by how easy they are to live in real life. First, we've got the forest biome. Now the forest biome is quite possibly the most chill biome in Terraria. I mean, there's not many mobs. You've got slimes, zombies, the occasional flying fish if it's raining, but that's not that bad compared to some of the other biomes. And as long as you build something quick with the massive amount of resources such as the wood, the dirt, if you've even got sunflowers, you'll be fine. And along with there being wood in terms of resources, you've got water and food. It's quite an easy biome, and even torches from killing the slimes. So in real life, you could easily live here long term. Just build a couple of houses, get some NPCs, some friends, and you've basically got real life. So I'm going to put that in the bottom tier here. Next up is the dungeon. This is quite possibly one of the worst ones. To even get into the dungeon, you need to kill Skeletron, who is not an easy boss early game. And then once you are in, there's an insane amount of enemies such as skeletons. There's so many traps, and if you aren't paying attention, you will die on accident. Along with the amount of aggressive enemies, there's no light, no food, no fresh air, and very little water. And even if there is, I wouldn't trust it in the dungeon. So even if you are able to avoid the enemies and traps, you don't have anything to live off of, so I'm going to have to put that in instant death. The next biome is the desert biome. Now, the sun will be your main enemy here. In Terraria, there's a few mobs that can cause some trouble, such as the vultures or the antlions, but in real life, the sun would be far more of a threat. The fact is you've got no water, the only resource around is a cactus, and you have no way to avoid the sun. So even if you did everything you could, such as drinking cactus juice, which doesn't sound great, I don't think you'd last very long. However, in Terraria there are oasis biomes that can spawn in the desert, and if you found one of them, you'd maybe have a bit more luck. So I'm going to go survive a few days, but that is based on the best case scenario. This next one's sort of a couple categories put into one, but it is the underground. Now, I am classing the underground as everything, including the jungle, the hallow, the crimson, the snow, but I'm all bunching it into one because they are basically just the exact same as their overworld biome, just with the addition of these threats. The biggest problem you have would be the lack of resources once again. Yeah, there's stone and there's ore, but if you're living there, you're not really going to be using those and they aren't going to help you survive. There's tons of enemies, you can't see where you're going, there's no food, and even then, the water that is there, like the dungeon, I wouldn't recommend drinking it. I mean, if you imagine people that get stuck in caves in real life, they make it a few days, sometimes it's a few hours, but I'd say in Terraria, we'll go for a few days. The next biome is the first hard mode biome, and it is the hallow biome. Now, especially compared to the corruption and crimson, which are the other elemental biomes, this really doesn't look too bad. Compared to the corruption or crimson, which seems to kill everything there is, the hallow actually seems to bring more life, and although there are some aggressive enemies, it's not as bad as the others. You still have access to wood, water that looks quite clean, especially compared to the crimson, and food from unicorns if you weren't to go that far. I think as long as you build a decent house to protect yourself from the new enemies, you could live here. Like I said, you won't enjoy it, but you could. The first evil biome on our list, the corruption. Now immediately, we know this isn't going to be anywhere near the bottom of the list. The first threat is the absolutely insane terrain. The fact that there's just caverns and ravines everywhere going hundreds of meters into the ground means you have to be really careful or you die with just a wrong step. As it's an evil biome, it is killing everything inside of it, including you. The trees are dying, the plants are dying, the water's nowhere near drinkable, and even the air feels like it's trying to choke you out. Pretty quickly, you're either going to fall into a ravine, get eaten by a flying demon creature, or just get absorbed by the ground. So I'm going to put it in survive a few hours. I don't think it's as immediate as a dungeon death, but it's definitely not going to be pleasant. Now it's time for the next evil biome, the crimson, and I'd say this is far worse than the corruption. First of all, the monsters are just weird meat flesh creatures that would absolutely terrify you, so even if you had the resources to survive, the mental problems would be astounding. And going off that, like I said, everything is meat. There's no water, there's no plants, there's no real animals or food. Everything is just blood and flesh, and it's like living inside someone's organs. Even if you manage to survive the enemies, the lack of resources, you would not survive the psychological trauma this would give you. This will not only kill you fast, but it'll make you want to kill you. So I'm going to put this up in instant death. If you're agreeing with the ranking so far, please consider dropping a like and maybe even subscribing. The next one, probably the safest biome, and I don't think it's going to need too much explaining, the town biome. There's housing, there's resources, there's even NPCs. If you are missing anything, you can probably just buy it from somebody living there. Compared to every single other place on this list, it is an absolute luxury. If you were anywhere in Terraria, the town is where you would want to be. Quite possibly the hardest biome for new Terraria players, the jungle. Now everything in here wants you dead. You've got giant bees and hornets, snakes, poison, flying turtles. You're hit with 5 status effects before you could even do anything. Admittedly, there is a lot of life, a lot of water, quite a lot of food as well, but one wrong step and you're probably being poisoned or paralysed or eaten alive by some big creature. You could maybe survive a day or two, but to be honest, I think it's just unlikely. You'd definitely get eaten by some aggressive creature within a few hours. There's only 2 of these biomes in the world, and that is the ocean biome. Now, immediately there are a lot of threats. You're thinking sharks, crabs, pirate invasions, but you just need to think, you don't have to go in the water. In the ocean biome, the water is where all the threats are, and if you just stay on the beach, you'd be completely fine. You'd struggle for a bit of food and water, but get a fishing rod, maybe find a way to desalinate the ocean water, and you'd be completely fine. I'm going to put this in the I'd live here, but it wouldn't be great. As long as the angler's not there, I think I could be quite happy here. Another odd biome here, we've got the glowing mushroom biome. It's quite a chill biome. There's a couple of weird enemies like the flying bats or the weird crab-looking creatures, but other than that, there's not too many wildlife threats. There's quite a lot of food as long as you're a fan of mushrooms, and by the fact they're glowing, you've at least got light. And there is the occasional bit of water, which could be clean. Overall, I think you could survive here for a while. It's a bit weird and everything's glowing, and as long as you don't eat the wrong kind of mushroom, if any of them are a good kind of mushroom, I think you could maybe survive, but I don't think we know enough about glowing mushrooms to put it in you could live here. So I'm going to go you'd survive a few days. The coldest biome, the snow biome. Now this is quite similar to the desert in that there's an extreme temperature involved, but I think this would be a lot easier to survive than the desert. It'd be really cold, but I think as long as you have a plan going in, you'd be fine. Make an igloo really quick, try and get some warmth. There's foods such as the wolves. There's quite clean water. I mean, I feel like if you knew what you were doing, you could actually live here. So I'm going to go, I'd live here, but it wouldn't be great. One of the worst biomes coming up, we've got space. Now, this doesn't need an explanation. There's no oxygen, there's wyverns, there's no pressure. You'd either explode or get eaten by a wyvern immediately. So this is immediately just going to go in instant death. I don't think it needs more explanation than that. Next up, it's probably the biome you've all been waiting for, the underworld, which is literally just hell. There's lava everywhere, and even if you didn't touch it, you'd die from heat exhaustion. Nothing grows here, there's no food, there's definitely no water, and the air probably isn't even breathable. You can maybe mine some materials, but what are you going to do with them? You will not survive more than a few minutes here. It's, like I said, it's literally hell. That's the tier list finish, but I know what you're thinking. You think the hallow should be higher, you think the jungle should be lower. Well, whatever your opinion is, comment it below and I'll respond to every single one of you. And if you change my mind, I'll maybe put a note in the description saying I've changed my ranking. But if you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I'll see you again soon.